Okay, so today we're going to talk a little bit about how to write a prelab and take notes. This is a typical prelab that you might see. In this case, this is from your liquid extraction. So if you read through it, there's a lot of detail here. So you're going to be separating your unknown from glucose, and they're in equal parts. You're supposed to read something in Padillas. You're supposed to weigh out about 100 milligrams of your unknown, dissolve it in 2 to 4 ml of water and TBME. You're going to remove the ether layer, add another 2 mLs of ether. It goes on and on. What you want to do is you want to read through and you want to see what exactly are you doing. And you want to put it into a flow chart. But you don't want to have too much detail. You want as much detail as you need. And that's not usually a lot. And you want to add in your observations and notes. So let's take a look at what something like this might look like. So for procedure, remember in there it said I had to have about 100 milligrams, so I got to weigh the sample. It said to dissolve it in TBME and water. I'm going to mix it. I'm going to remove the TBME. I'm going to add more TBME to the water layer. I'm going to repeat this a couple of times. I'm going to combine all my TBME extracts. And then in there, at the bottom of that procedure, it said add a drying agent, mix, filter, and then dry with nitrogen gas. And it told us to collect some data. So what I'd write down for some observations is, first of all, I'd write down my unknown number. You're going to need to know this for every procedure that you're doing. And after that, I write down how many milligrams I actually did weigh out. It said to weigh out approximately 100, but I want to write down in my notes exactly how much did I weigh it out. Also, what did it look like? It was a white powder, I guess. Then it said dissolve it in 2 to 4 milliliters of TBME and water. So I should write down in my notes and observations exactly how much did I dissolve it in. In this case, I used 3 mils of TBME and 3 mils of water. I mixed it. I noted here in my notes that it was a clear liquid. It said remove the TBME. Well, I took off the top layer. So I'm going to put that in my notes so I know that I took off the top layer. Add more TBME to the water layer. Well, I'm going to write down how much I added. In this case, it's 2 mils. It says repeat it. Well, I'm going to repeat it 3 more times with 2 mils each. And I'm going to put that in my notes. Combine the extracts, add a drying agent, and mix. Well, in the procedure, it gives you a choice of drying agents. So I'm going to make sure that in my notes, I write down what drying agent I use. In this case, sodium sulfate. Filter and dry with nitrogen gas. I want to write down how much I ended up isolating. In this case, I isolated about 45 milligrams. And again, I'm going to describe what that solid is. It's a white powder in this particular instance. All right. At the bottom of the procedure, it also asked us to submit samples for analysis. And there were different analyses that we had to perform. I'm going to want to put down in my observations and notes, I'm going to write down what was the file name of the NMR. So when you submit your NMR, you're going to be asked to write a file name on a sheet of paper and type it into the computer. You're also going to want to write it in your notes. So you know if you have to go back and get that file, what that file name was actually called. Same thing with your IR. And then you're going to also gather some data like a melting point in this particular instance. You're going to want to record what that melting point was in degrees Celsius. All right, now that's about how you would do a notes and procedure.